Hey there, what's going on? It is your boy Glenn Lawrence. I am back with the Blerd Dad Podcast. I'm your host, of course, and this is a space where we like to have unfiltered conversations and nerd out about parenthood. And I'm so excited to be back here again with you all. It feels like it's been forever since I talked to you, but it's only been a week. You've been here every day listening. I've noticed that there's been some more likes, some more shares, some more follows on the YouTubes and the socials and the Facebooks and the Twitters and the whatever's. Y'all been doing it. Y'all been holding it down. Just share more. Tell people more about it, because we like to have these conversations. And the more you share it, the more people get to hear these awesome conversations and get the insight. Because that's what we're all about. We're all about the insight. We're all about giving people insight, giving people knowledge, giving people some laughs, some giggles, and maybe a little rest from these kids, because we need it. We need the rest from the kids. And I'll tell you why. Because they go through this thing called toddlerhood, and they terrorize us. My uncle told me to call them the terrific twos. And I didn't realize how much I would need to put a positive spin on things until he actually reached two. And now he's reached two, and I'm like, oh, I see, because I could be cursing up a storm about this toddlerhood right now. It is intense. It is difficult because they scream in your face. You don't know why they're crying. They cry. You give them what they want, and that makes them even madder. It's kind of like dating almost, but it's just it's a lot. It's a lot, but I'm loving it, because then he just curls up at the end of the night after he's done terrorizing you and your hair's all falling out. Then he curls up and he's like, sleep. And then, then it's all for the best at that point. It's great. That was just me getting that off my chest. But hey, enough of that. Let's talk about our amazing sponsors for this week. Just like every week, it's TheyMadeMeWear.it. Yes, that's TheyMadeMeWear.it. It's a husband and wife team, and they're on a mission to help dogs discover their fashionable side. I think they actually do things for cats too. I don't know. I got to ask them about that. I know, cats and dogs, it's two different sets of parents. You know what I mean? Like, people who dress their dogs are different than people who dress their cats. You know what I'm saying? But They Made Me Wear It can help out both parties. They will get your pet very fashionable, whether it is a Halloween costume, affordable or adorable dress, or prom dress, whatever they need. If they're going to homecoming, maybe they're going to be a homecoming king, queen, who knows? But if your pet needs an outfit, you need to holler at TheyMadeMeWear.it. They're awesome. And just know that when you shop in their store, some of those proceeds are going to a very good and worthy cause. It's Hope for Paws. That actually rhymed. And it's an animal rescue organization that works tirelessly to rescue and save the lives of abandoned animals. So gets these animals off the mean streets. We don't have no homeless pets. They're taken care of. Your dog's looking fashionable. Everybody's happy. Everyone's happy except for me with this toddler. I'm stressed, but I don't know what you're waiting for. You know about it. It's TheyMadeMeWear.it. Use code word Blerd, because you're going to get 15% off at checkout if you do that. Now, I think we have arrived at the point that you all are waiting for. Who's the guest today? Who are we going to be talking to today? Well, today we're going to be talking to PT Bratton, who is an amazing comedian. He's a more amazing father. He's a great person. I've had the pleasure of working with him, and he's funny. That's the number one thing. So if you ever get a chance, you see him on a flyer or something, you should check out PT Bratton, because he is amazing. After serving 10 years in the United States Air Force, PT Bratton found his mission in helping people, organizations, and communities heal through humor, which we desperately need in today's day and age. His work has been featured on NBC, CBS, and the CW. So he's performed on all stage, like Kennedy Center, White House. He's been doing a bunch of stuff, and he's got a comedy special coming out. I think he's going to film on Veterans Day, and he works very in sync with Veterans Growing America. Great guy all around, and I can't wait to begin this conversation. PT, what's going on, brother?
What's going on there, Glenn?
What's happening? I know that was a long intro. You're like,
no, that's fine. I was able to take a nap, so that was good. It was accurate.
It's good. Is he still talking? Is he still going?
As a parent, you get him when you can. The older you get, let me tell you something.
Listen, wait. So you've been through this before. You've already gotten past the point where I am, the toddler stage where they're 2 and they're going crazy. Do you have any tips? Do you have any advice?
Your cough syrup works well for you and the kids, and they don't even have to be sick. You just put a little in the sippy cup, knocks them right out.
The more that they're sleeping, I feel like the better things are, but
absolutely.
But it's funny here. It's funny because I feel like every parent feels like, oh, my kid is different, they're special. You hear all these stories of other kids, and then for some reason they do this rope-a-dope thing where you think you have escaped it. And so he turned 2 and everything. We're like, oh, the 2's ain't that, but he's fine. What? This is cool. He's going to be all right. And then all of a sudden it hits. He did the same thing with sleeping. He did the same thing with the sleep schedule. We were like, this baby is great. He sleeps through the night. There's no problem. I don't know what people are talking about. This is fine. And then all of a sudden it just flips and he's like waking up in the morning. I'm like, oh.
No, so, yeah. Our oldest, he did. I never forget. One night, I don't know if he had a bad dream or something. We don't, to this day, we don't know what happened, but he decided he was not going back to sleep. He was like, he said, I'm done with that for tonight. Whatever that he stayed up the whole night. He did not go back to sleep until the sun came up. And then he was like, it was safe to go to sleep, I guess. I don't know. So we're exhausted now, and now he wants to sleep. Everyone's schedule is off. We got to go to work. It was crazy.
Yeah.
But the toddlers, I don't miss it. Sometimes I miss it, but then I remember, and I'm like, nope, I'm happy where I am. I'm happy. It's it's like they turned into a whole different person. They turned into a whole different person. And Glenn, I don't know if you ran into this. Like you're afraid to socialize because they normally cut up in public, and you feel embarrassed. They don't care. They, like your son will just straight fall out in the middle of the store, and you like, who is this child? And and then people are looking at you to see how you respond, and
Hey, listen. Here's the thing. When he was young, right, and he's still young, but early on, we're like, oh, maybe because I love movies, so like maybe we'll try to take him to a movie. So we took him to a matinee when there's nobody there, and for the first few times we did it, it was great. He just sat there. He loved Mario. He watched like the whole thing, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is the thing. We could take him to the movies and see it. And then I think we tried to see the Ninja Turtles, and I think he liked it, but this time he was not going to be denied, and he started like yelling in the theater. And it was a matinee, but there was like one other group of people who were there, and so he's like yelling and screaming, and I know I'm wrong. I know I'm wrong. I know I've brought the child and they're ruining the movie, but I'm also like, shut up. He'll be fine. just leave him alone. We're gonna take him out. We know it's wrong.
I paid my money. We're gonna watch this movie. Y'all just no, you were wrong for that.
I was like, y'all will be all right. Y'all are fine. Everybody knows what happens with the Ninja Turtles.
It's terrible when it's your kid, man. When it's your kid that does that, and I lost a lot of friends when our boys were toddlers. We didn't socialize because we couldn't trust them. Couldn't trust them in public.
I have to agree, because sometimes he's good, but when when they get in these modes, they get in these little modes, and then they want to yell. And one thing that I'm worrying about too now is socializing with other kids. Like like bringing like what are they going to do in that regard? But he's actually really good with little kids. He's like affectionate. He wants to go up and like hug, and he's like, hi friend, and all that. So that's good. The other day he had like a football, and I guess there was another little girl that he thought was cute, so he tried to give her or he came to like play with the football with her, but instead of just playing, he just came and like screamed in her face. and then she like like ran away. I was like, hey son, listen, you're gonna learn this, but you came in hot there. You gave
right. That only works for like Mystical and Busta Rhymes. I don't know who else that really
like DMX. You know what I mean? Like
that's a unique take on it. That's interesting. I got teenagers now, man. So it's funny because with parenting, my youngest just turned 13, so like it's the end of one era, the
Mm-hmm.
beginning of a new era, and it's like they keep changing on you, right?
Right.
So and the funny thing is, it's like 2 years between them, so the things that the oldest went through, you kind of forgot about until the youngest goes through it, and they're like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, the oldest did trip out like this. He was running through the house slamming doors, and you run through behind him like, you don't slam no doors up in here, like, it's like, who
Yeah.
is this child? Like, how dare you, you stumping off and you want to punch the wall, and I'm like, you ain't repairing no drywall around here. What's
So right, one of my friends, I don't know if you met him before, Chris Allen, another great comedian, veteran as well. He did this social media post where he's the kid is playing video games, and then he's like, "Hey dad, can you shut my door?" And he's like, what? and then and then the next scene he's like taking the door out the hinges. He's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Oh, I'm taking your door off of my house because you got to see." I should actually bring up the video because it's actually
that is funny. I would be like, oh no, I'm taking my door off so you can put your door on. That you gonna go to Lowe's and Home Depot and get your door.
Exactly.
Like, no. I come through like the Terminator. If you close the door, I'm kicking it open. My youngest, he likes the game, so he always wants. And the funny thing is, part of me wants him to close the door because he's so loud when he's gaming, and it's repetitive nonsense. It's like, bro, here we go, bro, there he is, bro. Oh, that's it. Oh, he's a hacker, bro, look out. Oh yeah, we got him, bro. I was like, if you say bro one more time, I'm gonna pick you up and shake you. Like,
oh man, you know what? And I think because you're a little bit older now, right? Your kids have kind of aged out of it. The things that they have for the young kids now are even worse than that. Like, I don't know what it is. It's like maybe some Korean type of like short that they do, but they're just like pink color balloon, red color balloon, and they're just repeating it over again, and it's like popping the balloons, and somehow that, I guess, that visually stimulates them or stimulates but it's doing the same thing over and over and over again. I'm just like, we got to stop this. We got to do something about this.
No, I mean, Glenn, here's the thing. Here's a tip for you, man. Always stay involved in whatever the kids are watching. Like, when they got older, I watched Blue's Clues, and I mean, we could go down the list. Word Girl, like we all the PBS shows. I would sit and watch them with the kids, and then when they got older, where I feel like, I can get back to watching what I want to watch. Now, I was like, I got to start watching stuff with them again just to make sure of what content, like, because my youngest loves anime, and then my oldest, he watches YouTube. Like, he loves movies, so all those movies about like how it should have ended, or behind the scenes, or what I mean, like film theory. I think that's one of their favorite ones.
Oh yeah, I love that. Yeah,
it sucks me in sometimes, but it's like, that stuff can be addictive. Like, it's not the same way. Like, we got stuff in short doses because, like, Saturday morning cartoons, that's what you had, and then at noon, that's it. You go outside and play because the cartoons are done. Now you can sit and binge watch like the whole weekend.
It never leave. You just stay in there and never leave.
Man. It's rough because they go from binge watching something to playing, and sometimes they try to do both at the same time. So I'm gaming and I'm watching something. I'm like, you haven't seen the sun in 48 hours. I need you to go outside.
Yeah, and they don't care. They don't care. And the other thing is, when I've said this before, when we grew up, we were we were on the cutting edge of the newer technology, the video and everything. So like even to the point of like going from no TV to black and white TV to color TV to VHS or Betamax, and then to a TiVo box, and then to cable, and now we live that progression. So everything was like slow, and we got introduced to things slowly, and they're just coming into the world where all this stuff exists, and it's just on top of them immediate from jump. But I feel like also, they somehow they know, like it's ingrained in them when they come out to know this world. Because I tell you, my son came out and he was just manipulating the phone and everything, just intuitively. And I don't know if it's because I'm looking at the phone a lot, or it's just like something ingrained. They just know how to work the technology of the day.
Yeah, no, it's you're right. I think the technology is intuitive. So it especially Apple, that's one of the main things that got me on their side. I kind of hate them now, but they because they keep changing stuff, so you had to buy more stuff. I'm like, stop doing that. Like, stop changing the ports. So I got to get new cords. Don't or adapters. Stop doing those stuff like that. That stuff irks me, but it's intuitive how their tech works together, and it just it does what you think it should do. So that helps the kids, but it hurts them too, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, when you got a toddler, I do remember that we would give them the iPad so they can watch whatever on the iPad, especially on road trips, kind of keep them calm. And it's just it's a lot of work, man. Parenting is a full-time job. Now don't tell my wife that I said this. But what she always does is tell them, hey, you've been on the devices too long, get off the devices, as she's walking out the house. And I'm like, I don't think that's fair. I told her to stop doing that. Stop,
She set you up.
Yes. I'm like, so guess who now they're going to jump on and bug for the whole time you're gone.
Yeah.
And I was like, don't do that. She said, well, we got to. I said, you speaking French because you just left me to deal with the aftermath of you saying no more devices. And then you walk out the door, babe, I'm gone. No, you can't do that. You can't stop doing that.
Oh, man.
I give them the devices right back. I'm like, here, just go somewhere and be quiet.
that's oh, man. We haven't gotten to that point yet. But I know my attention span in terms of making sure that they're safe is way less than hers. So she'll be like, all right, don't let them do X, Y, Z. And I'll be like, got you. And she'll walk out the door and I'm like, and then she'll come back in and he's doing whatever she told him not to do. And I'm like, oops.
Oh, it's hard, but it's hard when, like I got teenagers. I'm trying to get work done. I'm working from home. And so we're homeschooling. So I put them on task and then I go do my work. So what happens a lot of times, she'll come back in and be like, what are y'all doing? And then she'll fuss at them and then she'll fuss at me. And I'm like, well, I put them on task. They were working. I was, I'm not constantly checking on them to make sure. I mean, because they're 13 and 15. I'm like, at some point, and this is my standpoint, and parents might disagree with me. I'm like, the best way to learn is to fail. So if let them get that big F, on that assignment, and they'll learn. Okay, that's better than me keep telling them, because sometimes kids, when they get to this age, they think they know everything. So it's best just to let them see it. Like, okay, let them feel it. Okay, all right, I tried to tell you.
Yeah.
Boom, now you got a 0. Now what you gonna do with it? It done brought your whole GPA down, and then they'll be like, all right. So I got to do the work. Yeah.
Yeah. Incentives and failures. I feel like that's how you get them to grow. And here's one thing that we did want to talk to you about, because we are thinking about the homeschooling route as well. And I know your wife has a lot of information on it. We definitely want to talk to her about it to get even more in depth. But as a father in like a homeschooling environment, how do you like it? How does it work for you? Because I'm thinking, my wife just today was calling me. She's like, you like everything's always got to be a lesson. Like, why you? And so I'm like, oh, I'm looking forward to it. But is it not as glamorous as I'm thinking? Like, I'm going to be able to give them all these lessons or whatever. Is it going to be a little bit more stressful? What am I walking into?
Right. Yeah, it's not as glamorous as you think. We both went into thinking that. Oh, you're going to teach them lessons and everything's going to be an object lesson. There are some things that the state requires that they learn, and so you gotta figure out what curriculum. So it's a benefit to have that freedom, but it's also a stressor to be like, okay, what's the best curriculum? Like when you send them to public school, you don't even think about that, right? You just like, all right, they're teaching them this, but now you like, it's in your hands. What curriculum is the best curriculum for history? What's the best curriculum for English? What's the best curriculum for math? But you have control over it, right? So if your child has some kind of learning setback, you can pick the best curriculum for their learning style so that they can thrive, which is really good, right? So like if you have a child that has a problem with phonics, then you can pick the English curriculum that helps them with phonics so that they can excel, as opposed to them being in a system that's not geared for them, and then you put them in a special class and they feel some kind of way. So like homeschooling is good in that regard. It's also changed. It's not like it used to be. The kids are not isolated. They're not just hanging out with mom and pa on the farm. It's they're in a tutorial. Like right now, it's silence in the house because they're at tutorial, which is a group of other homeschool parents that gather together, and they have tutors that come in and they basically teach, but math, those core subjects, right? So that your student is now in community with others who are being homeschooled, which helps with the socialization, right? So yeah, it's good. It's not what I expected. It's a lot of work. You got to keep track of everything. Like if you take your son to the gym, to shoot hoops, hey, that's PE. Write that down. Take a picture of y'all shooting hoops, because you got to report to the state that they have, it really is PE, but you're not thinking like that, right? So like I'll take the kids to the park and throw the ball around, teach them some football plays. That's the same stuff we learned in school. Like in gym class, they taught us football or wiffle ball or whatever. But you got to think like a teacher and say, oh, I'm teaching them this, because you are teaching them. You just want to show the state, yeah, we're teaching them. They have physical education every week. I take them out to play. Yeah, we have recess. Yeah.
I'm talking to my producer right now. You see that? Everything is a lesson. See, I'm already on the right track. You're so upset about it, but I'm telling you, everything's a lesson. Write that down. Listen, like half the day, I'm gonna be writing down like he was in philosophy class, because Dad got a philosophy on everything.
Yeah,
like he did. Like, sir, he did 16 hours of philosophy that on Tuesday. How did that work? It's like, well, I had to drop a lot of gems that week.
There you go. That's an elective, of course, but yeah, you gotta record it, man. Gotta record it. It's been, there's a part of me that my oldest son really wanted to homeschool. It was my wife wanted to do it, and my oldest son requested it. So at the point he requested, I'm like, all right, let's do it. My wife has been wanting to do it.
Did he request it because of the younger one or I'm sorry, you said he requested it just off the strength of
he was having. So what happened was he was at a private school prior to going to public school, and the transition was rough.
School, I don't know. I remember public school, and for me, I guess if you lived in the jungle, it seems normal when lions and tigers and everything's like jumping around you. But if you go from this nice, pristine public or private school environment, and you come, you're like, what's happening?
Yeah, it's culture shock, man. It was the first day of school. I think they was snapping on his haircut or his sneakers or something like that. I mean, you go from a place where no one's doing that, to everybody's doing that. And then his biggest thing was in the public school system, there was no consequences for the student's actions. Like he just wasn't. He couldn't deal with that. Like a student would say something or do something inappropriate, and nothing would happen to the student. And that just messed with him. You know what I mean? Like, because he was just not raised like that, right? Yeah. So you have students that, they'll cuss at the teacher. Nothing happens. One kid threatened him, like, I'm going to go home and get a knife and come back and stab you. And that actually happened. And then the teacher was like, oh, well, he's just talking. I'm like, no, that's a real threat that we need to take seriously, because there are knives at his house and he could put it in his backpack and he could come to school and stab my son. And they were like, nah, he's just talk. No. See, that kind of stuff didn't happen in the private school, right? Like,
right.
You get kicked out for
Yeah,
like
exactly.
So
nah, for real. Yep.
It was a bit much for him to handle, and his personality type, he likes order. So
nice.
That was chaos.
It's funny. Like what it sounds like is the student is saying, "I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna stab you," and then he's like, "Teacher, help!" And the teacher's like, he's just talking shit. He ain't gonna do nothing." It's like, wait,
he ain't
what?
gonna do nothing. Yeah, okay, until he do something, right? I was like, and as a parent, Glenn, you like, hold tight. What?
Yeah, like, is he gonna do? Like, I don't know this kid. Yeah,
y'all not gonna take this seriously? Like, come on. Yeah, so he wanted something different, change of pace, and so he's thriving now. He's thriving in the community he's in. He's high schooler, so he got asked to speak for the promotion ceremony for the middle schoolers, because they wanted somebody upperclassmen to speak. So he spoke and did an excellent job. Everybody's like, "Oh man, your son did so well." I'm like, thank you, but you can't really take credit for that, because it's him. All him. He wrote it. I gave him one joke. To put in there, and everybody laughed. You know what I mean? But it was him. It was really all him. And but to see him blossom like that, you know what I mean? Like, he's very quiet, publicly. Privately, man, he's a cut up. And in the public school, you start to see him start to withdraw. And I think for me as a parent, that's why I'm like, okay, this is not good. And our friends were saying, oh, well, he just needs to toughen up, learn how to play the dozens. And I'm like, does he? Does he have to do that?
Does he have to? Right.
Because what corporate job is he going to where
they're gonna be roasted in the first meeting?
Like, I mean, unless he's gonna be on Wild 'N Out. I mean, you don't really have to learn that skill. Like, that's not an employable skill unless he's working.
Yeah, right. Where's he gonna use this? Oh man. He just got to learn the cat. That's so weird. The advice they give you in public. He just got to learn the cat back. I don't know what to tell.
Right. I was like, no, it shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't be like that. So, yeah, it was interesting. It was an interesting transition. And then
like the other students, like he's gonna bring a knife. It's like, well, he better bring a gun. Like teach him not to. It's like, wait,
right? Like,
this is not how we.
Like, no,
escalating.
Like, this is why. Man. This is exactly why. But then look, check this out. So we decided to homeschool, and then COVID hit. So we had just kind of figured out how to do it, and then COVID hit, and everyone has a misconception that homeschoolers stay home. We don't. We do not. They take field trips. They're always out of the house learning, which is great. You know what I mean? They take field trips. So, like, think about it. The public school, you might take maybe 1 or 2 field trips a year. Right. Like they're taking one every month. Like, they're just, all right, we're going to Philly. We're going to learn about this. Like, they're going to museums. It's so hands-on because it's a smaller, excuse me. You know what I mean? Like, you can do that kind of stuff. And like, I'm teaching a class right now, the elementary after school program, elementary school. And I got like 20 students and it's hard. You know what I mean? It's hard to, and my wife, when she taught in public school, she said she had like 40 kids. I'm like, how do you teach 40 kids?
Yeah.
And 20 of them don't want to be there. Like, that's that's crazy.
And what's crazy though is you look at schools in Asia and whatnot, and all them kids are sitting there like ready to learn, and then you come over to America and it's like it's just like rah! It's like everyone's so wild, and I really wonder what it is about the culture that is not like making the kids have a quest for learning, because it's not necessarily like I don't know that it's like that they've disciplined the kids so much there. Like, those kids over there kind of really want to learn too, like in addition to being really diligent and watching. And now maybe I don't know, maybe if I went there and saw it firsthand, it'd be totally different, whatever. But from what I know and from people who I've known who've gone over to teach there or whatever, it's like totally different. It's like really, they want to learn, and you can kind of see it in, I guess, the population here. It's just like, what is going on with our society that kids don't want to learn? Or even, I mean, even when you were talking about the dozens, like like kids want to roast you if you're smart. Oh, you read books and like I would think that you would roast people
you some
who
old
aren't.
reading.
Yeah. Look at you with your water, staying hydrated. Just just the whole everything that's good for you, they're roasting. And I'm just wondering, how do we get to that point, and how do we fix that? You know what I mean? Because it seems like in the homeschooling thing, kids probably are more engaged too, because they're going out and doing things.
Yeah, I mean, so my wife taught, when you bring her on, she'll get in the details, but she taught English to Japanese students, and the system, they have a system called the wa, the circle, and everyone has their place in the circle. And so the philosophy is, if I do my part, everything works well in what I mean, in the system. So if my part is to be the janitor, I'm gonna be the best janitor I can be, because that allows the system to work, right?
Yeah.
In America, with the capitalism, sometimes it's like dog eat dog, and there's no guarantee that because we're kind of taught like everybody wants to be, or everyone should be a millionaire.
Yeah.
And the reality is, everyone's not going to be a millionaire, right? Everyone's going to be a CEO. No, we got to have some people that work in the company, because you know what I mean, like that's the reality. But we sell the American dream, is selling it like everybody's going to be on the top, and that's not true. So like for the parents, even, who have now realized that's not true, it passes down to the kids. So the focus on education is different. You know what I mean? Like if I was told that, hey, you go to school, you get your diploma, you're gonna get a good job, and then I do that and I don't get a good job, and they said, well, no, you need to go to college and get a degree, and then you can get a good. So I go to college and I get in debt because I got student loans to get this degree, and I still don't have a good job. So now I have kids. What am I passing on to my kids about the value of education? If that process hasn't worked for me. And I think for large in large part in America, it's a lot of people that education has not worked for. Like we say, get a good education, it will help you get ahead in life. But I think that's what we're seeing, is like the trickle down of that. And that's just my theory, right?
Yeah.
That some of those students that like, so what?
And also the converse of what you're saying, like we have seen people who bucked the system and said, get the education, dropped out of high school, didn't go to college or whatever, and they have become very successful running businesses and doing things. So there's something about the fact, not the fact that they just bucked the system, but the fact that you can be successful without the structured, prescribed education that they say you need. You know what I mean? There is a way to be successful outside of that. And if that's the case, then it's like, why do I have to follow the prescribed thing? Why can't I learn the things that I want at my pace and whatnot? And then you start, asking questions. And I think that disillusionment that people are having is what is causing kind of the breakdown. And probably also, like any kid that you're not engaging them and they don't think that it's like worth their while, or they can see that it's not going to benefit them, like they're going to be disengaged. And then that's when you start seeing them do other things or whatever. But I guarantee, because I've seen it before when I was like teaching and whatever, once you start putting things that are interesting and that are useful in front of them, all of a sudden that kid who's like acting out and doing everything, he's engaged. He's like, oh man, I like this. Like this is interesting. Just dissecting this frog, and then or whatever it is, building this computer or whatever thing captures them. But when you have them kind of sitting down and just doing, like, let's learn about Susan B. Anthony, and I'm picking on that because I don't, it just sounds like something that is cool, but unless you want to be a seamstress or something, then what, what's the point? Like you could learn about something like, why does a mechanic need to know about, anyway.
No, that's a good point, man. I mean, I took physics in high school my senior year, and I did not finish physics. I actually dropped it. No, I did finish that one. I'm sorry, I finished that one. But it was another one. But physics was like the most, that stood out as the most useless class for me because of where I wanted to go in life. I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't really need this, and I didn't need it. It was like a college prep course,
Yeah.
but I'm like, when you look at classes like that, that's hard to make it make sense. Like,
Right.
how am I going to use this in my everyday life? Yeah.
I'll tell you what. I took physics, and I was very interested because I played video games, and like video games when you're trying to like it made me a great sniper when I went to college when I'm playing Halo and stuff like. And they didn't know what I was doing. I was like, oh, I'm about to use this right angle to throw this grenade, and it's going bounce. And they were like, what? How you do? So. It is funny that you say that, but like I took biology class or whatever, and I was fail. Like I took that in college, and I was failing in that, and I was failing biology in the first day I got there. Like I walked in class and I already had an F, and I'm like, I don't understand how I'm already failing. Like this is, I had to drop that one, but yeah, it is interesting when you have things that you just know you're not going to be able to apply to your life, and you see it almost immediately when you start taking the class. You're like, I know I'm not going to use this. I know I'm not going to do this. And the thing that I think is crazy is there's so much useful stuff that needs to be taught. Like if you think about it, we spend all this time teaching these kids to do things, and then they graduate, and then it's like, all right, now go get an apartment, go get a job, pay taxes, do all this other stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like, where was that lesson? Because that's a pretty important lesson. And now I'm behind the gun. I don't know how to balance the checkbook. I don't know how to. I'm just now 40, and I'm learning how to do all that stuff. And I still don't know if I'm doing it right.
Where's the resume writing, right?
Exactly.
And that kind of stuff. I think our system hasn't caught up with the times, man. We're not teaching people those skills. Those are electives. I'm like, no, that should be the required stuff. Like people be knowing how to, like, we used to call it home economics. But that's the stuff that everybody needs to know. You need to know how to sew and how to cook for yourself. I'm like, that should be an option. Like we should be teaching everybody. Like you need to know how to do these things.
Or like I don't know why farming isn't like a thing, or how to just grow a little garden. Like and this extends into like everyday life too, because I look around America and they're like, there's a crisis and food and people are hungry or whatever, and then you look at all these houses, you look at all this like space and stuff, and I'm like, okay, all these trees are ornamental. What if we were growing fruit trees on every like place in land? Then all of a sudden you're walking through the street and there's fruit, and you know what I mean? Like people aren't going to go as hungry. There will be like an abundance.
That's a brilliant idea though. Like if you did that in the cities where you have homeless people and you got fruit trees, I'm like, at least they got fruit that they can they just pick off the that's funny. We ain't ever thought of that, huh?
Like but that seems like a utopia idea where you walk down the street and you could just pick a fruit off the off the tree.
You know why they don't do that? Because people sell fruit. And they're like, if it's free, then ain't nobody gonna buy the.
Well, people sell a lot of things, and if there's no scarcity, you're like, why would I buy that? So then, like, okay, well, we'll make things scarce. We'll make it hard to get things, and you can't. And it just makes it more difficult for people to do things like that. And I think a lot of times that's why they have a lot of rules on things. And you're like, that rule doesn't make any sense. That actually just prevents people from being able to make their own or whatever. But I do think that there is going to become like kind of a groundswell of people being like, look, this isn't working for us. We're going to need to just do this other thing. And I think farming is like a big part of that. Like just not even farming, just growing, you grow one plant. Like I think back in the day, didn't everybody used to have a chicken in their backyard?
Yeah.
So at the very least you had eggs.
Yep. And my mom had, I think they had a cow. They had a couple pigs. They canned a lot of stuff. You know what I mean? So like preserves and stuff. They were able to make do. Like they keep talking about this food shortage, and because people don't know how to do the basic things, people are going to suffer because we don't know how, and then two, we don't have space to do it. Because if you look at all the developments, like we're steady knocking down trees to build more houses. And it's funny because you have all these houses that were in apartment buildings and businesses, especially during the pandemic, right? You have all these office buildings that were empty, and people were not going back into the office. So now they've converted some of them into apartments. I'm like, but you still got all these homeless people and you got all these vacant places and we're building more places to live. And I'm like, this makes zero sense. Like we have so many people investing in real estate. So now I have 15 properties. No one's in any of them, but then we got people on the street and it's like, this doesn't make sense. Like, just some of it make it make sense to me.
Right? It's like on one hand, it's like, all this commercial real estate, we don't know what to do with it. And on the other hand, there's all these people who don't have anywhere to live. It's like, I just can't figure out what to do with both of these problems. I don't know what we should do.
I can't make money off of the homeless people. So if I give them a place, like, unless the government gives me money to give them a place, then I get it. But I think another thing too, when you talked about this is one thing about homeschooling is purpose. Like we're stressing purpose. In Japan, they have like tracks. So like they assess you early on to see, okay, who's on this educational track, who's like cut out to do higher ed and beyond, and then who's not. And I think in America, we kind of miss that. Like, where's the aptitude test to see, okay, what are we geared toward? And okay, when I went in the military, they gave us an aptitude test. Is he more technical? Is he more administrative? Like, where's his aptitude? And then let's direct him toward that. And that's the thing about education, is so general. Like even in it didn't get specific for me until I went to like post-grad work.
Right.
Like even in graduate work, it's still a lot of it, the majority of it is like, this is required. We're telling you have to take these things. And you have this small section of stuff where you can choose where you want to study. And I'm like, at what point can we actually dictate what we want to learn? And it's like, this is crazy that the whole system is like this. Like at every level, we're telling you, you gotta know this, you gotta know that. And we don't allow the people to decide what information they really want to know.
Yeah, it's like a freedom. It's like, we're giving you all this like freedom to do stuff, but in that you don't know which way to go. You just like, all right, there's like too much to do here. But one thing that I was very impressed with, this is like changing gears just a little bit, and we're talking about like real estate and like repurposing. You're partnered with Veterans Growing America, which I thought was an amazing idea. It's taking a space out in Potomac. What's that? Potomac?
It's Stonebridge.
Oh, Stonebridge, in Stonebridge, which is out in by where we live. But it's taking a nice space that's in a strip mall type of environment, outlet center, and it's turned it into kind of almost like a boutique bazaar, you know what I mean? Where everybody can come in and veterans can set up their shop, sell their wares or whatever, and get people in there and get to see these shops that they might not see because they're out at like a shopping center. So it gives these people like a storefront to do, and you partner with them. You've done some amazing comedy shows there because they have the comedy show space. But talk a little bit about that, because I know that they are you work with them quite a bit, and that I thought that was an amazing idea.
No, it's great. It's a for-profit, and they also have a nonprofit arm. So they hold classes there during the week, helping veteran entrepreneurs. Because a lot of it is you don't know, you haven't been that way before, so to network with other people who started businesses can give you some insight, some tips, resources. But that space is great. They do an open mic on Friday nights. Once a month we do a comedy showcase,
which I was on, by the way. You know what I mean?
Yes,
everybody had a great joke,
which was straight fire. That was one of our hottest shows. People were raving about that. And we actually had the History Channel there to record. So I'm glad it was one of our good ones. Nice. That they were there to record. I was like, oh, please be a good show.
Right.
But no, they've actually worked with AFES, which is, on the bases, the arm. I forgot what AFES stands for, but they run the BXPX,
American Armed Forces Services, I think, or exchange, something.
So like the BXPX commissary. So they've partnered with them, and they've done pop-ups on bases. Veterans Growing America. So they're doing some big things. They're actually going to be moving into a bigger space next year.
Oh, nice.
So that's exciting. That's exciting. That was a partnership. I mean, the owner is an Army veteran. I'm an Air Force veteran, and he was very interested in bringing entertainment in there, and it's worked out well. As a comic, it's hard to find a good space for you to
Yeah.
practice and showcase not just your talent but others. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And for a space to be supportive of that and understand like what it entails, it is difficult. So speaking of comedy, man, how is your comedy special coming? How is the prep for that?
Man, we're almost there. We're almost there. We got a photographer locked in. We got a videographer, an editor. We got the space, Veterans Growing America. It's been an interesting journey. People have donated. That's the most exciting part. We're almost halfway to our goal. The goal is $10,000, and we're almost halfway there. And just so that the fans can have a part of it, of the production and the product. So when we put it out there and it's distributed and it's on TV, people can be like, "Yo," they see their names in the credits and be able to be like, "Oh, I was there," or I supported that. And I just think that's really my stilo. It's like, let's do it as a community. Let's do it together. It's something that I believe in, definitely. And it's Veteran Day, a veteran comic. I got 2 other veteran comics opening for me. Nikki Knowles, she's the Magoobies new comedian of the year.
Yeah.
First female comedian of the year, which is huge. And then Dwayne White, who was one of the top 101 for World Series of Comedy. Very funny veteran comic. So it's gonna be fun, man.
I'll tell you. Look, I'll tell you a story about Dwayne White because he was on the podcast, and remember we were talking earlier about toddlers and acting out in public. I took Morgan to see me perform again because every so often I do a little check in, like, all right, let's see how he's going to handle coming out to an event. And so I took him to a show that I was featuring on for Dwayne, and it was all right for a little bit, but somewhere around the second or third person, he started screaming like during the thing. And Dwayne's he's a curmudgeon, he's a grump. So he was just like, "Who brings a kid to the show?" So I brought him in like during my set, and then he yells out, "Where's Daddy?" during Dwayne's set, and I was like, "Yeah, that's the best heckle you could probably get." It's like, "Where's Blerd at? Let's get this guy on stage." We want Daddy back. And then he bumped me from Electric Palm the other night because of that. I was like, "Oh man, no, I'm just joking." I wasn't on the list, but I'm still going to say that he bumped me because.
See, no, that's because we had the ASAP graduating class was coming through, so we had.
By the way, that is solid that y'all do that because you're involved in helping comedians or helping veterans find their voice through comedy, which is also an amazing endeavor.
Yeah. I'm very fortunate. We just did I hosted the Armed with the Arts. That's the ASAP big fundraiser. We just did that at Capitol Turnaround in D.C. and we raised, I think it was like $300,000 for that nonprofit. And so as I stood on that stage and was able to say, 8 years in comedy, I'm about to record my first comedy special. And I got my start in ASAP's comedy boot camp, which I'm now teaching. I'm like, look, full circle, man. I'm able to give back to an organization that gave so much to me. That's my heart, man. Like, even with the special, it's not about me. It's like, look, if I can crack the door open, then I can open the door for other people. And it's just, we're in a spot where everybody has to move away to make it. Like, we're in DC. And we comedians just like I do that we're like, well, I'm going to New York because they're trying to make it. And the comedy scene is not as big here. Or they go to LA. And, there's some real comedy, real talented comedians in this area that they just need that opportunity, that platform where they can shine. So we're going to see what God does.
Yeah, see what God does. All right. On the podcast, we usually like to ask everybody our blurting question. And the question is, what do you like to nerd out about? So what do you, PT Bratton, what do you like to nerd out about? What's the thing that you could talk about ad nauseum that people be like, what? How do you know so much about this?
Superheroes,
Oh, okay.
movies, super. I was never really into the comic books, but the superhero movies, that genre has now, caused me to go back and research, like Marvel,
Right.
especially, because
Yeah.
they brought out some unknown characters. You're like, Hawkeye, like what? You're like, I mean, I remember Iron Man vaguely, but they brought him to the forefront. I do remember watching Cap back in the day, Captain America, which I thought was corny. That costume was real corny. Spider-Man was the big one. And I mean, but for them to just reinvigorate the whole franchise and get people interested in the comics. And then I feel so bad for DC. So my son and I, my oldest son, that's his thing too. Like, we can talk about that for hours. We'll just be dissecting characters and how they messed them up and how they could improve. And
right.
That, yeah.
Here's what's so crazy is, because I totally agree with you, and I feel that same way. And I'll look at myself watching a Marvel movie like Guardians of the Galaxy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be in there, and I have real human crying tears, and then I'd pull back, and I'm like, this is like, in the movie where they have the fake movie and the person's crying about a talking tree and a raccoon. You know what I mean? Or I'm saying a tree that says 3 words and a raccoon that talks, and I'm just like, it was like his dad. And I'm like really broken up about, like, if you start talking about Rocket and what he went through, I will really just be like, start crying about it. But it just speaks to, someone taking so much care and breathing life into these characters and really imbuing them with human characteristics that we can identify with. And I think they do a good job with it. And everybody gets so like critical of the different Marvel movies and Marvel properties. And I'll just be like, no, like I see the character arcs in things. I'm like, no, but over the arc, if you look at Tony Stark, he went from here to doing this, and now he's saving the world. And I'm really what you call it, engrossed in this world, and I really like it because I think it's great escapism, but I do think it actually says something.
Oh yeah, I mean, the fact that Tony could be redeemed, like if somebody like him could become a hero, because he gave his life at the end, and you go back to the beginning when Steve was like, I know your kind, you're not the kind to lay down. Like,
you're not the time to lay it down for the team, and he's done it multiple times. And Steve, when have you ever done it? This is the thing. When I was watching Endgame, the scene that had me was when everything happened. Thanos came, and he, you know what I mean, and he shanked up Tony and everything, and then Tony made it back to Earth, and then he was like all like in the chair or whatever, and Steve is there, and he's like, I told y'all this would happen. I told y'all this would happen. And he's like, I know, Tony. He's like, and you said that we didn't need what I was talking about. We was going to do it. And then it came and it happened. And where were you?
Yep.
He's like, and you weren't there.
Yeah.
Captain,
don't get me started, man. Captain, man, he was like self-righteous, man.
Listen, I'm Team Tony all the way. Because here's the thing: the worst thing, this is a parenting thing too. When someone is like, "I told you so," I knew we needed them robots. I knew it.
Yeah, like look, we messed up, but it was a reason, and the reason it was valid. Like Steve didn't. He always wanted to. I don't know. He didn't want to sign the accords, which turned into a disaster. Like Steve nobody talks about this. Steve had bad decision making from the time that he crashed the ship in the ice. That bad decision making. That was the first bad. Why? Look, any other option? Like, no, I got to put her down. Look, you couldn't jump out the plane. You couldn't, like.
Gotta put her down. What are you talking about? Fly that into the sun. Get it out of here.
Right. I'm like, he was like, oh man, it's going too fast. I'm like, you can't turn it around. You can't. You can control it to go down, but you couldn't turn it around. Like, I mean, it was so many other options, right? I don't got time to figure them out.
I'm Team Tony all the way, bro. I was Team Tony all the way. He was like, listen, we need to make this AI. I've had a vision. some big aliens gonna come and we're not gonna be
yeah.
able to handle it. So
Right.
I'm gonna make this AI. I know y'all don't like it. I gotta make these robots. I swear to you, it's gonna work. And what
Right.
happened in it? Vision was, I mean, you know, he was part of trying to help everything come back together. Here's the other thing, because the Tony Stark and then Spider-Man relationship in the Marvel movies,
Right.
which is like a father-son relationship. Oh,
Yeah.
that pulls on my heartstring. Like the
Yeah,
scene
yeah.
when they were when Spider-Man had like tried to go and get the guns or whatever, and he went to the boat and it split the boat in half, and he tried to pull it all together, and then it got saved. And he was like, I was just trying to do my part, and if you cared, you'd be here. And then he stepped out.
He stepped out.
I was like,
yeah. But how about this? How about this? The callback, if you will, to the first time when they were in the car and he reached across the open, and he thought he was to hug him. He said, "We're not there yet." But at the end, when he found out he was alive after he got dusted, he hugged him. And he was like, "Oh, this is nice, right?" It's like the character arc, like you said, like those little things,
those little moments
as they're writing the script. I feel like DC can't compete. DC has the better characters, and I think they're just relying on the characters at this point, and they're not putting the work into the storyline. Like Marvel understood, we don't have the characters that are well known, so we have to write a good story. And DC just like, we got Superman, Man, Wonder Woman. We don't need to write a good story.
We've been on top for a long time. Yeah, and they don't really ever get to the crux and to the humanity of like of these supernatural characters. You know what I mean? And I think it's also, you know, Marvel has success, and now they're trying to catch up, and they're like, oh, let me catch up to what they're doing. But they haven't taken the time to actually. Well, they haven't taken time to find themselves. Is what you need to take some time out. Stop dating, DC.
Right.
Take some time out for yourself to find yourself.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. They're trying to compete, but I feel like they had like Ben Affleck. I feel like they were that was a good Batman. That was develop that story. Talk about what made him the way he was, like, you know, like, but they get off of it so quick, you know, they like, you know, if it doesn't pop, you know what I mean?
Yep. And I feel like they kind of play at lip service, and they try to copy what was, you know, done before them, and like, oh, well, they got a Avenger, we need our team, not realizing like, yo, if you take your time. My problem is I enjoyed what they did with the Man of Steel movie, and I thought that Man of Steel was good, and I thought they were going on the right path. And the thing that annoys me the most about DC is most of their movies, when you break them down, it's like it was right there. Like what you were trying to do, what was in the story, and the way that you were going, it was there. We was on board. But then your execution just, you know, and I'll take it. The last Flash movie where they throwing babies in the microwave and stuff, I'm like, get out of here, bro. Get out of here with that. You know what I mean? Like, you want me to be with this stuff, and then you're like, haha, we threw a baby in the microwave. That ain't funny to me. That is not humor. That is not what I'm laughing at.
The best part about that movie, you know, my youngest, he's a huge Flash fan. So who's your favorite superhero?
I really like the Hulk. Hulk probably would be number one. I gotta look. Who's on my, probably Hulk is the number one character on my walls. If you look back here on my wall of superheroes, so Hulk is definitely number one. Iron Man wasn't really super, so you know, he was just super rich,
right?
But in terms of superhero, I really enjoy Hulk is my guy, and Wolverine. Hulk and Wolverine probably are the two that I have the most affinity for. But I really love Spider-Man too. I think Hulk. I have to go Hulk.
Okay. My youngest likes Flash, oldest likes Batman, and I'm Green Lantern. John Stewart.
Oh, okay.
John Stewart, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, that Flash movie, we would have to watch it because he loved it. But the best part was Batman. I'm like, it is a Flash movie.
Right. Why is Batman the best part of your Flash movie?
That says a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah. And here's what was crazy to me. You had the Flash movie, and at the end you had all those cameos, and most of those cameos were other characters that weren't the Flash.
Right.
There was there's like, oh, we got a Superman cameo, and we got this character. It's like, but where's the flashness of it? And you know,
the flashness.
And the thing that most annoyed me too was, I don't know if you've ever seen the animated Flashpoint Paradox movie.
Yeah, I have.
one of the best DC anime movies are phenomenal.
Way better.
And I just don't understand. Just adapt what they did in the animated movie and put that in the real movie. But the Flashpoint Paradox animated film was one of the best films. It's still my favorite DC anime. And I don't know why they didn't just adapt that story. They had it right there. They took a lot of parts from it, but then they just do this other thing, and it's annoying. But then the idea of having like Zod come back and then the Flash is fighting Zod and I'm like, okay, that's good. But then their execution is just like, they don't do anything with it. If you're gonna have Zod, why have Zod off in the middle of the desert not doing anything instead of like interacting with the world? And how does Zod if you turn that movie, and I like to do this a lot of times, like fix movies or whatever, like in my mind. But I'm like, if you turn Zod into the main villain, I think everybody would be down for that, because that is not a villain that is in Flash's universe, and seeing him fight something outside of what he normally is fighting in the comics or whatever. I think everybody was for that. That's why everybody wanted to look at it when the trailer came out. But then once they saw what they got with it, it's like, oh, this isn't even what you promised us. This is some bull jump.
Yeah, it was disappointing, man. It was that whole thing was ill conceived. I feel like DC's problem is the executives. They need to shut up and just let the creatives do what they do. I think that's their biggest problem, is that the creatives will come in, they will get a director, and then they don't let them run with the vision. They'll come in and be like, hey, you know what would be really cool if we put like a cat in there?
Yeah, right.
If we gave Barry a cat.
Yeah, it's like people like cats.
Yeah, people like cats.
What? That's nothing to do with it.
Hey, I got another idea. How about if we make Barry Hispanic?
Why? What?
Because
why?
That way his mom can speak Spanish to him and can.
There's a lot of Hispanics coming to the country. They're gonna like this.
Yeah. Why don't we do that? Well, they just throw stuff out there, and you're like, it's nowhere near canon. It's no reason for it. It's just like.
That's the thing, with all the race swaps that they do in film or whatever. I agree with people who are like, why not? Because we have our own heroes. There are writers out there who have written our own heroes that you could interject and put in there. You don't have to race swap anything. But if you're doing it, it should make sense, and it shouldn't it shouldn't just be for the sake of it. One of the biggest race swaps that I think has worked is Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury, because he brings like a gravitas, and it makes sense, in the sense of like what he has to accomplish and what he has to do or whatever. But then they do other ones, and like you said, like the Flash, and it's like, okay, well, what point did that serve? You know what I mean? Like what point did that, like, here's the thing that also makes me angry. If I remember correctly, in the Flash movie, his mom was Hispanic and she was sending him to the store to get tomato sauce to make spaghetti.
You get my point, right? So like, you didn't change the story to match. You changed her ethnicity, but then you're gonna have them making something that's spaghetti, like.
I mean, not that Hispanic people don't make spaghetti. I'm sure they love spaghetti or whatever. But I'm just saying, like, it's not traditionally of the hair. So it seems like it just seems like you just slapped this on. Like you didn't, you know what I mean? Like if she's in there, she's like, ooh, I want to make these enchiladas or something, and the special, or just the special dish that they make. Instead of, and here's the thing is, it's generic. Spaghetti is generic. Anybody could do it. So why change the race and then not make it special to the race?
No, it's crazy. It's like, we're going to make the mother Filipino, but we're not going to make any Filipino dishes, which is, first of all, they're the bomb dishes anyway. So like, can we make some adobo?
No lumpia?
Can we do, right? You know what I'm saying?
No lumpia?
Let's lumpia. Like, let's go. Let's, like, that's the kind of stuff that that it was like an afterthought. It was like an executive said, let's do this, or let's have this, like the baby in the microwave. Oh, this will be funny. And first of all, the CGI on that was horrible. Like, that whole scene was just like, what are we doing?
Cringe. cringe, and to put it at the beginning of the movie, so
And
you
the Flash's
already
run,
disappointed.
the Flash's run is horrible, and they said the actor did that to develop that style. The director should have been like, no, that's not it. Just run normally, dude. What is
What are you doing?
this? What is
I've said that so many times, and I thought I was crazy because I'm like, does anybody not? Do you not? No one sees how he's running?
Yeah, yeah, right. What, like, somebody should be like, cut. What, Ezra? What was that?
It's like now.
I thought I could do something different with the. No, don't do that. Don't do.
It's like, have you ever run before? Have you ever run before? Try it.
Because I'm running so fast. I'm throwing the lightning.
Out the. But it's like I'm running so fast, I can't handle how fast I'm running. Like, what?
I can't control my appendages. I'm
arms are flapping. That's people flap when they run, don't they? They flap. That's how you. It doesn't make any sense. All right, we're winding down, but there is one other thing that I want to talk about because you have the Clean Comedy brand, right? Yeah. And I love it. I enjoy it. The problem is, when I'm out doing my thing, I like to be freewheeling with it, and I like to use colorful language sometimes. And people will think that means that you can't be clean, but I can, and I like it, and I enjoy it, and I actually find that it helps me grow comedy better. It helps me scale comedy better being clean. But talk a little bit about your Clean Comedy brand and like what that means to you, the whys, the hows, and the what's about it.
I mean, it's basically it's who I am. It's an extension of who I am. I'm a church boy. Used to be a pastor, former pastor. So when I started doing comedy, I was still pastoring at the time, and it's like I got to be true to who I am and my audience, and they would be. So many of them would be clutching their pearls if they came to see me, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, the pastor!" Because some still call me Pastor Ty. That's what PT stands for, right? So they'd be like, "Pastor Ty is cussing," So it's like, and then I started the company because my kids, they were younger when I started, 8 years ago, and I would leave, and they're like, "Where are you going?" "I'm going to a comedy show." "Can I go?" "No, you can't." And they were like, "But why?" I said, well, my stuff is going to be clean, but I don't know about the rest of those people.
Right.
So I designed a Clean Comedy Connection to do family-friendly shows so you can bring your younger kids, and they may not know what's going on. They may not even be paying attention, but they're not going to hear no F-bombs in the background. You know what I mean? That's really it. Like, the show is really not for kids. That's the misconception. People are like, oh, I'm not telling jokes for the little kids, but you can have your little kids in there playing, and they're not going to catch any adult language, that you don't want them to hear at such a young age. So that's really it. That's what makes it family friendly, that you can bring your younger kids, and they can be on the iPad or playing jacks or whatever kids do.
Yeah, right. Jacks.
Yeah, so that's it, and the benefit of working clean is that you can be on TV, man. God has blessed me to be on TV several times, and the History Channel found me because they were like, we're looking for a veteran who's funny and clean. I mean, that rules out a whole lot of people. So it's like, and we always say as comics, oh, I can do that, but a lot of times people are looking for the proof. They won't even talk to you. They're looking for the evidence. So like, if you don't have any clean clips out there, a lot of people are not even going to come to you and ask you, can you work clean? And that's what I've been learning, so another reason why I want to get a clean open mic going, so that people can get some clips of them working clean, a good clean clip. We're close. I thought we was close before. It hasn't come through yet, materialized, but I just got an email this morning about another spot in DC that might be open to it. So hopefully coming soon, a clean comedy open mic where you can come and work clean, and you can set up your camera and record and get your a good clip. You know what I mean? That's good for comics, man, to be able to say, how many comics have reached out to me that been on the show and like, hey, can you send me that video? Somebody's requesting, they want to know if I can work clean. Like, boom, here you go. Yep. So it helps.
Yeah, it's funny because I was doing comedy for a while, and then the pandemic happened, and baby and stopped for a minute, and then people forget you. And I also forgot that when I first started, you're starting out, you're finding yourself, and then there was a point that I said, oh, and I started developing clean bits, and then I started getting a lot more bookings, and then you get free and you start doing longer time, you're featuring, you can do whatever you want. And so then coming back into comedy, I was like, and then I was wheeling and dealing and kind of just doing whatever I want. I was like, oh, I forgot, I gotta, because I'm kind of starting over. I gotta do the clean first and then get it to where I want to go again. So doing your show was a good reminder that I was like, oh yeah, that's right. This is how I got to where I am, is by starting out during the clean and developing long clean sets, you know what I mean? Like 5, 10, 15 minutes, 20-minute sets that are clean. And that's how I got to where I was before. And then, I got out of it. And then of course everybody forgets your name when you haven't showed up for a couple mics. So God bless you for doing the open mic and starting that and making that happen, because that's really dope.
Yep.
Yeah. But I'm gonna play this clip of Chris Allen, the comic that I was talking about. Yeah, with the door, because it is hilarious to me. So I'm gonna play it. Hold on, let me unmute this site, and then I'm gonna bring this up. Hold on, is this on? Is this
What you doing? Oh, I'm getting your door off my house. This door here is yours, so I'm gonna take it off my house. What's that? This is the mortgage paperwork. Yeah. Ain't nothing on here about your door. I don't. Hey, but is this all the paperwork for the house? Because Chris said he got a door, but I don't see it on the paperwork. You need to call the bank. They might have an addendum for his door. You would not believe what your grandson told me today. He told me to shut his door. Yeah, he said it was his. Didn't see it on the mortgage paperwork. Yeah, I don't know either. Oh, you want to talk to him? Your granddaddy want to talk to you.
Oh man, that's yeah, man. That's Chris Allen. You I don't know if you met Chris Allen before, but you should. He's a great veteran. He's hilarious as well. But yeah, man, I love that that skit. I was like, oh, I can't wait. I can't wait till he slip up. My son slip up.
It's gonna happen.
Oh man. Well, thank you so much for coming on, chatting with us, talking with us. You've been amazing with your time and everything. Do you tell the people where they can find you, your social medias and whatnot, and what you got coming up next?
Yeah, you can find me on all social media platforms at PT Bratton. That's PTBRATTON. Please follow me. That's how we get booked nowadays as comics. Get the numbers up. So I'm gonna be what's this week? I'm gonna be in Rockville tonight, Tyson's tomorrow, Harrisonburg on Saturday, and then next week I'll be in LA for a couple dates, and then back in Woodbridge on the 11th. Please come by and support. That's when I'm doing my comedy special recording at Veterans Growing America in Stonebridge. Yes, sir.
Man. Yeah, man. I love it. That's right. Check out PT Bratton. We run the gamut, man. We talked about one of my favorite things, which was the superhero thing. Talk about these kids. We even tried to fix America. We went through the whole damn gamut. And so I guess there's nothing to say now but blur that out.
Yep.